It's one of those 3 to 4 cups of coffee days. This is number 3. I'm sure before the episode is done, I'll have gone and got the 4th. This is actually not coffee. I drink coffee in the morning. This is chai tea. We digress. This is a knitting podcast, not a caffeinated beverage podcast. Nonetheless, welcome to M1 Yarns and the Michigan Makers podcast. I'm Jamie, your host, and the dyer behind m1yarns.com. And I'm coming to you today from Metro Detroit, Michigan, where it is a beautiful, perfect October day. And this is episode 44. If you are a returning viewer, thanks for coming back for the crazy. And if you're a new viewer, thanks for stopping by. This is going to be a really fun episode. So I really hope that you have your project with you and a beverage, because we need to talk about projects. Here we are in early-ish October, and this is when I start to think, okay, there's like 12 weeks left in the year. What do I need to make sure I finish this year? And that's more of like a self-imposed deadline, but we won't get into that. Anyway, so now that I have finished my knitting projects for Rhinebeck or the New York Sheep and Wool Festival, I have turned my thinking to 3 main things. And I think that this is highly relevant for a discussion with fellow knitters and crocheters. And so I'm going to tell you what those 3 things are, and then we're going to dive into it. But first, let me tell you what I'm wearing. Today I'm wearing some dyed by me coveralls. This was from Free People. It was ivory when I bought it, and the ivory just wasn't working for me. So then I dyed it blue. I liked it, didn't love it. Then I dyed it brown, didn't love it. Then I dyed it purple. Here we are, and I have a shawl that matches it perfectly. Like, ironically, I didn't even try. Oh, I should take this apart and... Where's my shawl thingamajig? I should tell you what this is all opened up so you can see it in all its glory. This is a design by a friend of mine and local to me designer, Tina Say of Tina Say Knits. Let me make sure I'm holding it the right way. I don't think there's a right way or a wrong way, but there's definitely a top. So this is the, oh God, I'm drawing a blank. What's it called? I'll insert the name here. This is my own hand-dyed yarn in the colorway Eggplant, and oh, I don't dye this color anymore. I don't know. Anyway, it's got stellina in it, so you can see a little bit of that sparkle. And I love dressing this shawl up and down. It's nice on a fall day like this, where maybe in the morning you're a little bit colder, need an extra little accessory layer. And then by maybe late afternoon, like today, it's a little bit warmer. So you don't need it so close to the neck kind of thing. But I think for today's sake, maybe I'll just wear it like that. This is a good potato chip knitting pattern. There's garter. There's a little bit of lace. Oh, this is the right side. I'm showing it to you correctly. It's really fun. I am not a huge shawl wearer, but this was a fun accessory that I actually get a lot of wear out of. So let's see how that looks. Styling on the podcast. Okay, that looks interesting. My hair is a mess today. I kind of haven't really adapted to my new haircut, and I think I need to go back to the long hair because it's actually easier for me. Once again, this is not a hair podcast. This is a knitting podcast. So the 3 things that I think we should all be thinking about this time of year are, number 1, what whips should we, could we, finish this year. And I'll walk you through those that I currently have and like their status, their situation, what I think is going to happen to them. And then number 2, now that I've finished my Rhinebeck knitting, are there any patterns that I want to cast on and make into new whips? And I have a few of those ready for you that I would appreciate maybe you voting on, commenting below on. So we'll get to that. And then number 3 is a really fun tradition that I do at the end of every year as kind of a cap it off kind of thing. I take all my balls of, like, you know, when you finish a project and you have like a little half ball or a quarter ball or some sort of partial yarn situation, and then you collect them in maybe a, let's see what I have here. Let's do this first because this is really fun. Maybe you collect it in a Ziploc bag like this. Maybe you collect it in a project bag like this, or both. Maybe you collect it in a gigantic, like huge mason jar, like the one I have on a shelf across the room. Maybe you have all 3. Either way, I have a lot of like scrap balls, as I call them. And every year in December, I kind of organize them into maybe some sort of color palette by weight, if I can remember roughly. It's not really important. And I knit a scrappy sweater. I'll try to insert, let's see, I'm trying to think of the years that I've done this. So basically I will find a bulky sweater pattern and I will marl the yarn, mix it all up, hold multiple strands together and blend it and just knit with abandon that it is a work of art. This doesn't have to be perfectly striped and perfectly symmetrical as far as both sides. It's just a stash buster. It's literally like, not a stash buster, it's a scrap buster. So that is something that I would like to cast on with at least these 2 bags. Most of it. I would say if I can create of these bags some sort of, and I tend to knit with like same color family-ish or things that go together. So if you took like all of my projects from this year and put them into one of those, you know those pictures where like they tell you, they make a dot thing of your palette of your Instagram for the year? These bags remind me of that. Like this is my color, what's it called? I gotta figure out. If you know the name of it, comment below. But anyway, I highly encourage you, rather than collecting these bags of partial balls, knit a scraptastic sweater. And I will link below a few pattern suggestions I have where you can just take like your DK and your worsted and your lace weight and your fingering weight, hold things different together and create like new yarn and mix it up and then make something purposeful. Like this bag is serving no purpose on my shelf. Neither is this one. So that is something I'll probably do in December. I like to do it at the very end of the year. It's bulky, it's fast, and it kind of clears off the shelf, which feels like a good way to end the year. You know what I mean? Okay. Meantime, I have a few whips. And I'm going to breeze through these really fast. I think I only have 4 whips right now, which is down from like 7 or 8 at some point recently. And I used to be a monogamous knitter. I don't know what happened. Whip number 1. This should be done fairly soon. This is actually a kit on my website. I have lots of color combos, but this is one that's really kind of fun. I think they're all fun, but and it's funny because purple is not my favorite color, but I seem to have a lot of purple going on. This is Birds of a Feather by Andrea Mowry, and I am about halfway done with it. This was supposed to be a shop sample, and I just didn't finish it, but it is a nice way in my booth at a fiber festival recently where I could display what it looks like when you have a project on SOS cords, where you can stretch your stitches out and see what it looks like. For sweaters, you can try it on, etc., etc., silicone stitch holder cords. So I'll finish this. It'll probably maybe take me a week. Yeah, I think this was only like 10 days worth of knitting. So that is project number 1. Project number 2 is also an Andrea Mowry pattern, which is funny because I'm not a huge Andrea Mowry pattern knitter. This is Metamorphic. It actually, I don't know what happened. It's supposed to have ease, but I gotta do a fit check and see if it has too much ease. Maybe it's the horizontal stripes, but it feels big to me. I mean, I'm probably like halfway done with the body length, and I could finish this in maybe 10 days. This is also my yarn. The blue is denim, and then the like multi-color changing situation is hand spun Feederbrook Farm. They're out of upstate New York. Yeah, it's a DK. It's called Entropy, I believe. That's either the colorway or the base. I'm not sure. I seem to have lost the label. Oh, wait a minute. Feederbrook Farm. Entropy DK is the yarn, and Theta is the colorway. There you go. Love that yarn. And I really like pairing it with, you know, like the two together. With number 3, it's been in timeout for a minute because it really wasn't bringing me joy. But I have long wanted this project on my body instead of my needles. And this is the Seaglass Tee. It's all like smushed up. Seaglass Tee by Woolen Pine. And this is in my yarn. This is last year's Advent Minis. I have a whole bag full of minis. Every round is 2-color color work, and then every round you change those 2 strands. And I've been doing, what's it called? Not magic loop, magic knot. And then you like have all these, you don't weave in ends, you have knots. It's actually very magical and I love it. But it's tedious and it's fingering weight. And I had to, in order to get gauge, I had to go down to a 5, which is not terrible. Anyway, we'll get through it. I want to finish it this year, even though now that I say that, I'm like, was I gonna knit this long sleeve? Because if I'm gonna knit it short sleeve, I could just leave it till spring. What do you think? Should I just finish it? I feel like I want to end the year with no old whips. Like, it can be a new whip. I'm trying to, I have this mountain of stuff. Where's my other whip? If you could see the room around me, you would be like, really? This doesn't look like organized Jamie that we know. Okay. This chai tea is so good. I just had to say that. This is a project I'm really... Do you ever look in your project bag and you're like, what the heck do I have in here? All kinds of stuff. This is a project I'm really, really enjoying, really excited about, and it really pained me to have to sit down to do my Rhinebeck knitting because I really want to wear these pants. How cool is that? So So as you can see, I recently split at the crotch and I'm working on one leg. I've got these really cool point protectors by Fox and Pine. Love her. Tara is super kind, lovely to work with. And for those who got this year's Advent box, you're getting something by her. So, spoiler alert. Yeah, I'm really, did I show you the back? I think I showed you, no, I showed you the front because there's short rows in the back for your booty. I love this so much. This is 2 strands of fingering weight held together. All this yarn is from another project of mine, which was a bodysuit, plus some yarn that I dyed that I was playing around with. So this is kind of a scrap buster project, which is a great idea for all your fingering weight mini balls or half balls or whatever you've got lying around. Mix your balls together and put your balls in your pants, basically, is what I'm saying. No dirty pun intended. No, totally intended. I love this. So fingering weight held together is DK. This is a DK weight pattern. And I'm so excited about these pants that I want to knit more knit pants because I work from home. I wear sweatpants and yoga pants a lot with a sweater, a hand knit sweater on top. And I'm like, why not wear a hand knit pants? So I looked at some of my scrap balls that we already talked about. A lot of them are worsted weight. And so I found a worsted weight pants pattern that I'm also going to knit. And they're like joggers, which these are going to be more like leggings. So I am on fire for knit pants. Just saying, if you want to knit some pants, all these patterns, I'll include what they are. I can't remember the name of these. Actually, I could tell you. Does it sound like I've had a lot of caffeine today? In my head it does. Ombre All Day Pants by Lauren Riker, who is Girly Knits. And I'll insert a photo from the pattern, from the sample, because I think it's just so gosh darn cute. So I feel like I could finish these before December. Don't quote me on that. Okay, so that's my whips. And we also talked about stash busting. So the last thing I want to talk about today is where I need your votes. And that is what whip to cast on next. And because I've had some really intricate projects this year, I would like to end the year with mindless knitting as like a reward. Plus, I feel like I can bang it out faster. I have the yarn ready for all of these. It's just a matter of what to cast on. And in some cases, I think I have the yarn. Oh, I do. For 2 out of 3, I have the yarn wound, which is winning. All right. So please vote for what I should cast on next by commenting below. Option number 1 is this hoodie by Park and Knit. And I want to knit it in my own hand dyed. It's coming out a little more yellow. Trying to get a good, it's like almost yellowy blown out on here. Let's see, maybe that's a little more true. Anyway, this is Harvest on, I don't know what base this is. It escapes me. Okay, so that's option number 1, is basically a hoodie in that Harvest colorway. Option number 2 is the Cozy Classic Raglan by Jessie May, which I've knit twice. In this is hand dyed by me, but not in the shop. This was like just an experimental fun situation. This is Brushed Suri Alpaca by Blue Sky Fiber that I over dyed with speckles. It was just like a baby blue, like a really pale baby blue. And let's see, I wish I could hold all the yarn, but I dyed it with multiple colors, really fun. So I would hold this double, I want to say, or it is DK, I don't know. Either way, Cozy Classic Raglan. It's just a basic pullover in this yarn. That would be super mindless because I've knit the pattern twice before, so I know it. Last but not least, this would become the Sorel by Wool & Pine, which I've knit once before, and it would be holding these two together. This is a colorway not currently in my shop. I don't know, should I add it to the shop? It's kind of a nice fall color. And then this was a mohair I dyed for a special collection a while back, and I absolutely love that together. So this would become a Sorel by Wool & Pine. I've knit that pattern before. It's slightly more brain engaging than the Cozy Classic Raglan or probably the Hoodie, I would imagine, but not overly stressful. Oh, and this bag, isn't this awesome? This is by Beautiful Sister. I bought this at Rhinebeck last year, and I really need to get more use out of it than just having it sit on the shelf with this yarn in it. So that's option 3. So to recap, do we want to make a harvest colored hoodie, a over-dyed alpaca Cozy Classic Raglan, or a mohair and rust merino Sorel? Comment below. Let me know if you've knit any of these patterns. The last thing I wanted to say, hold that thought. The last thing I wanted to comment on was a little bit more serious. And so this is October, Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And to be perfectly frank, I've never been really one to be on top of like self-breast exams. Shame on me. I should get better about that. I'm pledging to you all, I'm going to get better about it. But I have started getting my mammograms since I'm in my 40s, and breast cancer doesn't run in my family, although we all know that that's not like, you know, oh, everyone who gets breast cancer has it in their family. No, that's not how it works. But I say this because it is October, it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. If I have to sit here and tell myself to do my breast exams, I'm encouraging you all to, and I'm saying this in a particularly somber moment because we have some good neighbor friends of ours a couple doors down. They're younger than us, and about a year and a half ago, the wife was diagnosed with breast cancer. I think at the time she was 35, and she had the BRCA. She got the whole surgical addressing of the situation, or I say, you know, they addressed it from a surgical perspective. She did chemo. They thought that they had cleared it, and then this summer, a few months after her hair started growing back and she was back to work and this, that, and the other, it came back with a vengeance, and it ate through her. There's really no other way to say it. But she died about 2 weeks ago, leaves behind 2 small children. They were like the sweetest couple. And I don't often get teary about stuff like this. I'm from that British stiff upper lip upbringing. But she leaves behind 2 small kids, and she was such a fighter and just like mom of the year. And she leaves behind a gaping hole. And I know that she did everything she could to fight the cancer, and so many of you probably have been touched in one way or another, whether directly or, you know, with someone else that you love or know. And so I just want to take a moment this month to acknowledge that. I think, honestly, this friend of mine was the first person who I think I saw so daily, since we're neighbors, fighting her fight, and now I see the impact of what she leaves behind, and I just want to honor that and encourage us all to just take the best care of our health that we can, eat right, exercise, all these things that we're supposed to tell ourselves every day. But I say this also because just the other day I watched a latest Catty Jack's podcast episode, and I know Jackie, we've met in person. I've never met her mother, Sally, but Sally is a frequent guest on their podcast. And they just did a special episode where Sally announced that she has lymphoma. And they talked about, they really focused the episode on, and it was so impactful to me. I encourage you to go watch it. They focused on how our creativity as knitters, quilters, spinners, any other craft that we do, our creativity is so tightly tied to the health of our body and mind and spirit. And I really believe that to be true. When you don't feel well, knitting or whatever creative outlet you have is harder. It's just a struggle. And when you're feeling good, your creativity is flowing out of you. And I'm not really one to kind of share a lot of personal things about me. I want to, it just doesn't come easily. And I know a lot of podcasters have talked about how they share a lot about their life because they want to be authentic. And I agree with that. Sometimes you just have to keep certain things personal. But in light of what I learned from Sally sharing her medical struggle, you know, I often as a dyer find it hard when I don't feel well to pump out, you know, voluminous, creative product. Let's just call it what it is. And this year I've had a couple of major struggles. I know I have talked openly about my foot surgery in previous episodes and on Instagram. And then I've had some other struggles that I won't get into. But yeah, I just want to take a moment to acknowledge, because we can sit here and celebrate like all the things we have created and have done and all the good. But we should also acknowledge the struggles and say, yeah, I wanted to do 5,000 things for my shop and I just couldn't because I wasn't bringing my best self to it. And I only want to bring, I know we don't always bring our best self, and that's like totally impractical. But one thing I did find that was helpful for me this year was in creating the Yarn Addicts box, which is a quarterly box. It's like a little, I call it a fiber festival in a box. It's 3 skeins of fingering weight yarn, plus a bunch of pattern suggestions and other goodies and blah, 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 blah. It's a whole lot in a box. It's a subscription. You can order a quarter at a time. And so right now, if you're interested, you would be ordering the box that would be delivered to you in early January. And you can order that through, I think it's the first week of December. If you want to check my website for the exact date, it does list it under the Yarn Addicts listing. But this was a project that I can really focus in on with a theme. It's a pre-order, so I'll know how many I need to create exactly. And that's very freeing as a business owner and a creative. And so that really became my focus of my creative energy this year, that I didn't necessarily always have energy to float in 500 directions. But if I focused it in maybe 1 or 2 or 2 or 3 directions, like this Yarn Addicts box, then I can really bring something that I'm passionate about and that I hope will flow out to you. So that being said, I just shipped out the fall box to folks who had pre-ordered that. And if you got one, thank you for your order. I hope you're enjoying your box. The yarn was really cool. I do have some of it. So each quarter is unique, one-of-a-kind colorways for that box that will never be repeated. There's 2 base options if you're curious about this. A BFL sock yarn base, and then the other one is a yak merino blend on a sock base. So they both have a little bit of nylon is what I'm saying. And these were the colorways for fall, for the fall box. And they are all unique but kind of cohesive. If you see, they carry like the gold tone through. So yeah, this was really fun, and I hope for those of you that purchased it that you find a lot of joy in it, because I know for me, like, if you want to know what's the most special thing in my shop, it's this Yarn Addicts box. And I'm excited for the winter box. It's going to be really great. So I think that's all I have for you today. I know my little tangent about breast cancer and health and creativity kind of went in like 5 different directions, but I hope it made sense. I think what I just want to say is we're all human. We all struggle with health problems and life stressors, and we're all creatives here. I mean, we're here because we all enjoy creating something out of fiber and, you know, connecting over that. And I was having this conversation with someone earlier today that I think the main thing is you have to give yourself grace. Grace for where your projects are at, grace for where your health is at, grace for where your life is at. And I think when you give yourself a little bit of grace, a little bit of grace goes a long way. So that is kind of where my headspace is right now. So I think that kind of circles back to what I said in the beginning, is that I want to be in a period of grace with my projects, that I give myself grace to finish them or not finish them by the end of the year. And then kind of reset with a mindless project. So thanks for joining me for this rambling yet looking at all my whips. Thanks for joining me for this episode. And if you don't already subscribe, hit the subscribe button and the bell so you'll be notified when I drop new episodes, which is about every week, give or take. And I hope you're doing well, and that you're knitting and crocheting and spinning and sewing and is bringing you lots of joy. So please comment below if you have any thoughts you'd like to share with me. I love hearing from you all, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye.